Hi, everybody. It's Sunday evening. It's time for Region Weather Live. I'm meteorologist Matt Wintz. Good to be with you this evening. If you're joining us any later than right now, it's about 9:09 Central Time. If you're joining us later than that and you're rewatching this either on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page, just keep in mind some of the radar data we're showing is going to be outdated depending on how late you're watching that, because we are going to go through a little bit of storm coverage here as well. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got some severe weather off towards our west that is still on track to move through northwest Indiana late this evening and then overnight tonight. So we'll talk about the threat for that, what we're kind of looking at in terms of a threat locally and where the biggest storms are going to be. We've also got a hurricane out in the Atlantic. That's Fiona. We've been talking about that on and off on social media over the last couple of days, hitting Puerto Rico pretty hard right now. So we'll talk about where Fiona goes. And then we've got a very active week. We've got some real true ups and downs this week in terms of temperatures. And then we've got a hit of fall. It's going to be our first true feel of fall, and it's going to arrive right on time with the start of fall later on this week. So we'll talk about just how chilly we're going to get. All of that and more. We're going to pack it all into this Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. I know the Bears are on, but they're not doing too well. So we're going to sneak this in here in between perhaps some touchdowns. We'll see how they do. I've been watching. Anyway, thanks for being with us, everybody. Sunday evening. I hope your weekend has gone well. Boy, we've warmed up over the course of the last couple of days. It's felt a little bit more like summer's hanging on. And that's where we are right now, is a summer-like air mass with a quick little brief hit of fall that's going to come in here tomorrow, before we go back to summer-like air mass. Then we go back to a bigger hit of fall later on this week. First and foremost, I want to say hi to Gregory. Thanks for joining us, Gregory. Vicky Lee, hello from Hobart. Stay safe is right. Mary, hello. Good evening, Gail. John's excited for fall. Berta, good evening to you. Sharon, hello. Ann was just checking the weather. I knew you were, Ann, so I wanted to get in there. Hi from Gary Deshawn. Hello. Ruth doesn't like earlier sunsets. Dot, hello. Vicky, thank you very much. Derek's excited for the Packers. Sharon, hello. And Crafty, Julie, I appreciate you appreciating that info. We try to go for as corny as possible because that's just what we are. Gail and Laura, hello. We need to thank our sponsors briefly here. I know there's a lot to get to, but they pay for the show. They keep it free. Again, this time is precious in my family of three, but I'll tell you, there's a lot to talk about, so I don't regret it at all. Trust me. Anyway, we need to thank our sponsors. Tiger Plumbing, if you they are fantastic. There are so many of you that have used them. It's tigerplumbing.net. They are a family-owned business out of the Highland area. They have no trip charge, so they'll come analyze your problem, whatever it happens to be. If anything's leaking in your house, you might want to get that fixed. Tigerplumbing.net, local business. They're just a fantastic group of folks. Also, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. It is Jeep season. It's always Jeep season, but fall is one of the best times to own a Jeep. As we've got leaves falling, you can just soak up the leaves as you're driving through northwest Indiana. Also a family-owned business. You know who they are in the Valparaiso area. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Support them if you could, because they support us here on the show. All right, let's get to the map. I want to start big picture, then we'll zone in kind of locally what's going on. A lot going on the map. It's always chaotic, right? This is the infrared satellite. Here's Fiona over here out towards Puerto Rico. They had 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts. They've had lots of flooding, some wind damage from that. Puerto Rico got hit pretty hard by this. This is now heading towards Dominican Republic. It's eventually going to head out towards the north. It's curving away. You see this little feature off the coast of the Carolinas. That little trough is going to kind of pull Fiona off towards the north. So if you have interest out towards Bermuda, this is going to become perhaps a major hurricane out in the Atlantic, but it's going to curve away from the mainland. And it will remain a very quiet hurricane season outside of that. It's been very quiet. This is peak right now. This is when we should see the most storms because the water's the warmest before it starts to cool with fall. And it really has been a quiet season, but it really doesn't matter when you have one big storm that causes destruction. And Fiona is certainly doing that right now. So on a local level, let's zoom in. You can see this kind of feature we've got up towards the Great Lakes. Let's zoom in on that because that's our storm concern tonight. This is a cold front that's moving in. The area low pressure up near International Falls in Minnesota We've got a trailing cold front, and you can see on the infrared some of these pops here over the last couple hours. As I mentioned this morning, this is going to be a late evening and overnight event. So that's why we're doing this show just a little bit later, so we can kind of see what's going on in terms of the radar versus, talking about what's going to happen in terms of the radar. So here are the storms. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. Here's what's going on with this storm system. It's coming in from the northwest. Anytime as a meteorologist, in my experience, that we've had storms moving from northwest to southeast that are cellular, meaning not a big line of storms pushing through. You got these little, cells of storms, which we have here in Western Illinois. It's just not a good setup. I don't want to use a real big scientific term, but I'm going to. It's a squirrely system, and I'm kidding about the scientific term. But these can be really squirrely storms. And the reason why is because they've got movement from northwest to southeast. We've got a southwest wind. There's lots of shear with these, all right? So the storms are prone to spin. And that's not to alarm anyone, but I would not be surprised if we got a tornado or two west of here, especially in Illinois. That's where the biggest threat is right now. But again, these are squirrely storms, and I would not be surprised if we had a tornado or two in the next couple hours here out of these storms. So where do they go from here? Are we going to get hit by these or not? I think that's the big question. And I think we are. Here's how they've kind of come together over the last couple hours. You can see how this first little cluster kind of died out. Bigger storms back towards areas near are severe. You can see more storms developing down towards Missouri. But this is what we're going to have to watch here is this activity up towards northern Illinois. I think some of this north central Illinois stuff will make it into our southern counties like Newton, Jasper. It's got a southeastern movement to it. But again, these, in terms of timing, are still a good hour and a half away. I mean, we're probably talking closer to midnight before these things arrive. So we'll have good eyes on them as they move in. In terms of dynamics in the atmosphere, you'd say, hey, these storms are arriving at midnight, so why would there be a threat? Wouldn't that go away when the sun goes down? And that's not the case with these. These are forming not just on the low-level jet, which is kind of something that happens nocturnally. It's moisture in a jet stream that comes in off the Rocky Mountains, essentially, and out of the Gulf of Mexico. Bottom line, these storms are going to keep going tonight. We're not expecting a weakening trend. They're actually flaring up now. What's interesting, though, is what happens up here in Wisconsin. You see how it's been kind of quiet up towards Waukegan, Racine, those areas. These storms really haven't developed much, and that's what I'm going to have my eye on in addition to these southern cells that you see here. But again, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours out. So we're talking around midnight or so. Threat with these now would be hail. These are hailers, damaging winds as well. The heavy rain, I mean, you get that with thunderstorms. There is a tornado threat with these over the next couple hours. There's a tornado watch out to the west. They're thinking about issuing the watch for Illinois. And again, I'm not getting live updates now, so they may do that during this broadcast. The Storm Prediction Center is. But we'll see where we go with this. So we do run a risk tonight. The biggest dynamics in terms of this, in terms of these storms, I'll show you here. And this is, I totally agree with this. Sometimes I don't, but I agree with this setup here. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see how the biggest risk is south and west of us. That's what we talked about this morning. That's where the threat is. And that enhanced risk is a level 3, or yeah, that's a level 4 out of 5. Or no, it's a level 3 out of 5. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a tornado or two out of this, just the way these storms look, the structure of them, all that. But does that threat kind of translate out towards the east, towards us? You know, it's going to be kind of dwindling as it moves in. We don't have quite as much atmospheric energy. We don't have quite as much shear. I don't want us to let our guard down on these storms, though, as they move in. So I'll be keeping my eye on them as we go throughout the evening. We'll pass some updates, but they're still off towards the west. We've still got some time before these move in. Unfortunately, a lot of us go to bed. So what I would recommend, just in case, is charge your cell phone. You're usually doing that at night. Keep the volume on for your storm alerts, whatever app you happen to use that gives you an alert if there is one. Sign up for that. You can sign up for the emergency weather alerts on iPhone. That's what I know. You can sign up in settings. But if you have a weather app that does that as well, just make sure the volume's up on that. That's all I ask of you, really. Just make sure you're in tune for the weather. You can have some way to wake you up in case there is something tonight. Do I foresee a huge severe weather event tonight? Not at all. All right. But we can't let our guard down on these storms because they are kind of squirrely. There's a tornado risk. That's pretty high for Illinois, 5% chance of a tornado within 50 miles in that area. Notice how the 2% range kind of gets into our southern counties, Newton, Jasper, even Lake County. In terms of wind damage, that's going to be the primary threat with this. In terms of hail, yes, these are hailers. They've got a lot of large hail falling with these already off towards the west, okay? All right, so that's where we go. I want to show you some of the modeling, and then we'll talk our fall-like air later this week. And then I'll open it up to questions, as we always do at the end of these broadcasts. You can ask any question you want. Be happy to answer it for you. So here's some of the modeling. This is the one I agree with. I comb through all three models that I usually use, and I don't want to waste your time. So this is the most accurate one in my mind. You can see how the storms initiate pretty well. It's got them down to the south. There's that cluster up towards northern Illinois. It even develops this stuff in northern Illinois. We'll see how that goes. But notice as we go through time, I mean, this is midnight. This is 1 o'clock in the morning here. And you can see some of these storms are still cellular and they're still packing a punch. It's got a couple rolling through northwest Indiana. That's midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, eventually kind of congealing into more of a cluster of storms, which would be a wind damage threat. But timing on this, I hate the time to like 3 a.m. that these storms are going to be rolling through. I was looking at some of the lightning intensities. Actually, I can show that, the lightning density. These things are out of here by morning, okay? We may have a lingering shower tomorrow morning, but by and large, this front will be out. We've got a nice day tomorrow, all right? And then we talk perhaps more storms Tuesday with a warm front that's going to come through. But I want to show you some of the lightning density being forecasted by these models. Whenever you get the reds, you have a pretty electric storm. And they're forecasting some pretty good lightning with these. You can see some of the reds in a little area of blue with this main storm right here. Again, this is a model picking up on this, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be a storm right where that blue line is. But you get the idea that there's going to be good lightning with these as well. And that shows when you have a lot of hail. There's usually a lot of lightning if there's a lot of hail. And there's going to be some hail with these. Do we all see hail tonight? Not a guarantee. Okay, it depends on where they go. All right, so that's our severe threat tonight. I hope that helps kind of explain things. I wish I could tell you exactly where they're going to hit tonight, but we're still going to track them in from the west. We've still got some time. And they're cellular. Some will pop, some will go away. So I can do is give you timing and threat from these. And we showed you some of the modeling, bringing that in between about 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? All right, big picture. This is better news if you like fall, because we're going to cool down. We've got really one little taste of fall tomorrow. So this all gets out of here. We bring in a cool Canadian air mass to the north tomorrow. So we're talking probably mid 70s for highs, a nice breeze out of the north tomorrow afternoon. Humidity levels are pretty high tonight. They're going to go down slowly tomorrow. So by tomorrow afternoon and evening, it'll be feeling more comfortable. But then tomorrow night, on into Tuesday, we get a warm front in here and the humidity levels skyrocket out ahead of our next front. So we've got kind of an up and down pattern this week. So tomorrow is really the only day that we get behind this front where we have nice weather, because we're back to active weather again on Tuesday. So what happens on Tuesday? Well, we've got a strong warm front that will lift off towards the north. Here's the low way up towards the Hudson Bay. You've got a warm front that stretches kind of out ahead of it, which we'll get into again Tuesday. Cold front stretching back to the west. But look at this front. This is a potent front. This is our first hit of fall this week. And this arrives Tuesday night into Wednesday. You can kind of see it here. There's this frontal boundary. Here's Fiona out towards the east. I wanted to show you that. But there's this frontal boundary that'll come through. We'll probably see some showers, maybe some thunderstorms with it. It doesn't have a lot of time to grab onto Gulf of Mexico moisture, so it's not a really robust line of storms that'll move through with this. But what you will notice is late in the day, on Wednesday, especially in the afternoon and evening, once this thing breezes through, we're going to have a wind out of the north that's going to be chilling us down. I mean, we're talking 60s for highs, and not just like 68, 67. We're talking like 63 for high temperatures on Thursday. There's going to be some snowflakes flying in southern Canada. I mean, this is a hit of fall later this week. So again, it starts on Wednesday. We'll see the cooler air hitting, especially by afternoon and evening. Thursday looks to be on the cool side. We may see some lake effect rain. We'll keep it rain for now, thank goodness. And then this big old Canadian high sets up on Friday. Looks beautiful around here. The wind will ease. Will still be refreshing. They have some 40s in the morning. And then on into the weekend, the jury's still out in terms of rain chances. It looks like some kind of warm front tries to get in here Friday, Saturday, may trigger a shower or a thunderstorm. And then we're back to a little bit of warm weather briefly for the weekend. But then it looks like Sunday, Monday, there's another kind of fall-like front that brings more cool air back in behind it. So what we're noticing on the pattern, and this is typical as we reach fall, remember in the summertime, jet stream goes way to the north. It goes up in Canada. Jet stream's where all the big lows are, the big fronts, the big temperature changes. And we settle into this quiet weather pattern, August and much of September. That's typical. what happens end of September into October is we start to bring that jet stream south. And so you start to notice these stronger storm systems, which we haven't had yet, but our first one's coming later this week. It's going to be a stronger area of low pressure. We'll notice more wind with these systems. Whenever you have a lot of wind, it means you have some kind of strong low or strong high, and all that air goes to fill that low. That's literally what a low pressure is a lower area in the atmosphere of pressure. And so you have a lot of rising air with that because it's lower. Everything can kind of rise. It's not high pressure that pushes down. So you get this low pressure, and it's literally like a vacuum. All this air is flowing into it. And so whenever you get a low pressure that's strong, all the air around it for hundreds of miles is flowing into this low. And that's why it gets windy with some of these stronger low pressures, is because that low pressure has a void of air. So all the air is rushing into it. So later this week, it's kind of interesting, but later this week when it's windy, you can remember that that's because all that wind is flowing into the low pressure. Wherever that is. It's kind of like, when you open a door and there's a draft, and you get all the wind coming in, it's going to fill the air that's leaving. So kind of neat. All right. So that's what we're dealing with weather-wise. Again, temperatures later this week, we're talking 60s for highs, likely some 40s in the mornings waking up, and that would be later on this week. But our main concern tonight are these storms. Let me throw another overlay on here briefly. Let me see. I want to throw counties on here because I like showing those. And then what did I want to look at? And then go ahead and ask your questions if you guys have questions. We'll go ahead and answer those for you. What am I looking for? Oh, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see the watches and warnings. So here's the warnings with these right now. There you go. So this storm down in northern areas of Missouri has been tornado warned here. It's tornado warning right now with that. There haven't been any tornado warnings with this activity out towards our west. The severe thunderstorm warnings you see in north central Illinois, or actually it's west central Illinois, those severe thunderstorm warnings are due to hail. There's some very large hail with these. As of right now, it looks like some activities building back towards the Rockford area. That's what would come in here in probably about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So we're still talking 11:30 is when these storms are going to be getting close, but I really think midnight or so. So that's what we'll keep an eye on, is this section right up here for later on, okay? All right, let's get to your questions. Let's see. Elijah asks, well, I know Northwest Indiana has very low chance of tornadoes. What are chances of some that large hail comes this way? I'm in Valpo. Elijah, great question, of course. Our chance for hail is there tonight. It's not high. It is a low chance. But again, these storms have had a history of producing hail. We have to keep in mind, looking at these storms right now, yes, they look impressive, and they'll likely stay strong as they move in. But the strongest part of these storms, the best atmospheric dynamics for these, are right where they are right now. That's where there's a lot of shear, meaning these storms are not only rotating, but there's good updraft and good kind of venting from these. Once they get a little bit closer to here, they'll likely start to become less cellular and start to congeal into some kind of cluster or line, which is better. That's a better thing to see, is when these things form larger clusters, because that means you don't have individual cells that are rotating. The huge cell usually doesn't rotate. You can get some damaging wind from it, but bottom line, our chance is lower than what it is with these storms right now out towards the west, but it's not zero. And again, we're very impressive right now in terms of atmospheric energy. Again, it's not as much as out towards the west, but things are still impressive enough here locally that I think we can get some hail out of these. I'm going to keep my eye out for a tornado out of these. Hopefully we don't go that route. But hail, some strong winds, and some lightning are certainly a possibility. I don't think for everyone, but I do think we run that risk tonight. All right, Jacqueline, same thing for you in Wheatfield. This is an equal risk all across the area. I would actually say Wheatfield probably stands a little bit better of a strong storm because you're a little bit further south than our lakeshore counties for sure, okay? Let's see. What do you think the chances that we will see some storms severe otherwise? Adrian, I hope I just answered that for you. Chris, thanks for the update on those warnings. Yep, and we've got the tornado warning down in Missouri. Pretty good rotation with that storm. There is some rotation with these storms out towards the west as well. Nothing that is obviously, too tight as of right now. Let's say Paige says, hi, Susan. Thanks for joining us. Diana says 40s. Time to bring that lemon tree in. Diana, how's your lemon tree going? Do you have any lemons on it yet? I have an orange tree, and I've been trying for 3 years now. It's been a pandemic tree, and it keeps growing and flowering, and the flowers smell amazing. We have our first orange, and it's really tiny, and it grows a little bit each day, but It's a really awesome experience when you can grow your first when you have your first fruit on there, for sure. Let's see. DK, you're welcome. JB says, my NOAA warning is sounding off right now in the garage. Demont, are we in a watch right now? I don't think they issued a watch yet. Again, I do not have. Yes, they do. They just issued a severe thunderstorm watch. Yep, right now. And that's what we were talking about. So I know this isn't great news, but this is better news that it's not a tornado watch. So Storm Prediction Center is seeing kind of the same thing we are. I mean, we're all looking at the same models, and that the cellular nature of these will likely become more of a either a linear structure or a complex of storms, which would mean damaging winds, hail, yes, tornado risk goes down a little bit. Okay. And so, it doesn't come in Indiana. This new watch doesn't. This is for our Illinois counties. It stops right at the border. So Iroquois County, Livingston, Kankakee, Kendall, Will. That's where the severe thunderstorm watch has been issued. Okay. So Northwest Indiana is not included in this. So that's interesting. So what they're going to do, the reason why they issued it like that, again, Storm Prediction Center issues the watches. Your local National Weather Services issue the warnings. All right. So Storm Prediction Center out of Oklahoma, what they're saying is the severe thunderstorm watch doesn't mean we're not going to have severe weather locally, but they ended at Illinois because they probably want to get a good read of these storms. If they're packing a punch in Will County or Kankakee County, they'll likely extend that watch out towards the east. But all indication is that they're going to start to kind of turn to more of a severe threat rather than a tornado threat, which is exactly what we talked about. No surprises here, right? And as they move in, hopefully we'll keep them below severe limits, okay? All right, let's see. Melissa's asking about Dyer. Same thing for you, Melissa. Again, you would get the storms first. I think another hour 15 minutes or so, hour and a half. And we'll see how they develop. Hopefully we won't get anything severe for you, but these storms are looking pretty good, pretty healthy off towards the north. So we've got a little bit of time before these move in. Diana, when you get your first lemon, you're going to freak out. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, just if it keeps sprouting leaves and it's tall, I'm telling you, one of these days it's going to. And it's going to come out of one of those flowers that develop. I don't think I knew any of this. So there you go. Deshaun, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, as they're going to give it some time on this watch. You see that new watch, that last watch box there. I can pause it. See that yellow shaded area. That's where the severe thunderstorm watch is. So they're thinking it's further south. This would line up, though, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, down with our southern counties. So Newton and Jasper County, you would have the higher threat out of anyone for severe weather tonight. Can't rule it out in our northern counties, Lake Porter, LaPorte, Stark County. Can't rule out severe weather for you, but the chances are higher in Newton, Jasper County, just ever so slightly, okay? So there's your warnings right now in yellow, a tornado warning down in Missouri. That's for them. Here's the new watch box. We'll see how these storms go over the next hour or so, okay? Lori, same for you. I hope that helps. Again, we're talking an hour 15 minutes out before these storms hit. Not everyone's going to see severe weather tonight, but the risk is there. It's highest where the storms are right now in Illinois. That's where the primary threat is from this. We're kind of a secondary threat. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like, okay, the storms are bad now. They're severe now. We kind of get the leftovers. And the question is, like, how bad are the leftovers going to be? Are they still going to be severe? Are they going to be fading out? Either way, I think we're going to get some rumbles tonight. All right, let's see. Yes, so I got that. My friends are flying. So Paige says, my friends are flying in from Kentucky to Chicago. Should they be concerned? Are they coming in right now, Paige? Because right now they'd be fine. The threat for Chicago is pretty much the same as our Lake Porter, LaPorte County, where it's there, but it's not real high. Chicago will watch the cell out towards the west. I mean, that cell bears some watching. These storms will probably pass south of Midway or O'Hare. It depends on where they're coming in. But I wouldn't be too concerned. If they're flying in an hour or so, they might have some ground stoppages there. Remember, these storms are towering up 40, 50,000 feet in the atmosphere. You don't want to go through the bubbling cumulonimbus part if you're a pilot. So they often divert the planes around. So the planes will fly around these towering cumulonimbus clouds. So once these head over the airports, it's really tough to get down, without going through that cumulonimbus cloud. So, they may be delayed if they're coming in an hour or so, but if they're getting in right now or the next 30 minutes, they should be okay. Let's see. Kimberly asks us, Yeah, oh, I know the dogs that keep us up. Kimberly, great question. She says, "Will these storms be quick and out of here, or is my dog going to keep me up all night?" Um, they they're not going to be too quick tonight, Kimberly. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a one and done. I think we're probably going to get a storm, and then you may go quiet with some light rain, and you'll probably get another thunderstorm. The way they're lingering, it's not a solid line that just comes in and then whoa, and then it's gone. With light rain after that. These are kind of chunky. They're I always use the biggest words, don't I? They're chunky storms, but they are. They're all over the place, and so you may end up with two storms out of this before it's all said and done. And look at this. I mean, here are the storms here. There's storms back towards western Iowa out of areas that have already seen it, and then there's this activity up here. This is where the actual front is. So, I think we're going to be on and off storms tonight, and the first one should probably have the most lightning with it. The other ones probably won't have much lightning with it, and not everyone's going to see a severe storm tonight, but in terms of timing, I know that was the other question you asked. I would say anytime from midnight until probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and then we'll start to clear things out. The severe threat's going to be with that initial storm, though. Okay, but in terms of thunderstorms in general, that will go probably till about 4. Okay. Paige, they're landing at 11. Shoot, yeah, they may be delayed from it. There's going to be storms around, Paige, so I don't think there's anything to worry about. I mean, pilots know what they're doing, most of them, but they may have a delay from that. So if they're planning on coming to see you, I would imagine they're going to be late getting in. Deshaun, we should always be concerned about the individual. That's the individual cells kind of have their own, where they can rotate on their own. Once it's harder for that giant cluster to rotate. So we want these cells to continue to merge. You can see how they've started to do that in Western Illinois, but there's still some individual cells out of those. And as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of a squirrely setup. There's lots of shear with those. You can get a quick spin up out of these. So hopefully we won't see that. We are seeing that in northern Missouri right now, but that's basically it in terms of tornadoes. And with a severe thunderstorm watch, that tells me that our tornado threat's, kind of dwindling a little bit, which is great. That's what we want. Let's see. How quickly are they moving? Heather, I think around 35, 40 miles per hour. Let me check one of these warnings. I'll check the one west of Aurora right now. That's moving. Yeah, it says it's moving northeast. That's not true. They've got more of a southeast movement to it. But anyway, 35 miles per hour is what they're reported at. See, I knew that just from eyeing it. That's I've looked at radars my whole life. It's crazy. Actually, I don't have a name on this. It says Facebook user on my end, but whoever you are, how bad is it going to be in Cherville? Great question. It depends on how these roll in. Cherville runs the risk just like everyone else for a severe thunderstorm tonight. It depends on how these develop. Again, it's a chaotic fluid atmosphere, so these storms may pulse up severe 1 second, then they are subsevere after that. But Cherville does run the risk tonight of severe storms. That would include hail, some strong winds. Some of these storms have been putting out some pretty decent wind. Hail's really the bigger threat in my mind. And isolated tornadoes, I still can't rule it out of this. I know we're under severe thunderstorm watch west. There's no watch for us locally, but it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Nothing to be scared of, okay? Again, we're no hype here. I never like to hype things. But I want to be real with you on that these storms, again, they're squirrely, right? They're individual cells. They are rotating. Storms do rotate all the time. So it's not a big deal that they're rotating, but it just means that they are conducive to get a tornado or two out of these. Hopefully that threat will stay west. That's where the highest threat is. So my concern for Northwest Indiana seeing a tornado tonight is not particularly high, but there's a smidge of a chance. I think hail and damaging winds would be the main threat. Hopefully, we just see a general thunderstorm with heavy rain. We could use the rain. It's gone dry this month. Just heavy rain, some lightning, because lightning's good, brings out the nitrogen in the soil, so you get a little green. Hopefully we just see that. We don't see any severe weather, okay? That's okay, Cameron. That's all right. Just rolling in. Rensselaer, probably hour and a half or so. So we're talking... Wow, I've been on Eastern time for you guys. I'm so sorry. I keep saying midnight. We're looking more at 11 o'clock for these. I am so sorry. I've been saying midnight the whole time. I'm like, it makes sense in an hour and a half. I'm looking at Eastern time zone, and I know better. But yeah, so I think 11 o'clock is when we're going to start to roll in on some of these. So another hour, 15 minutes or so For Rensselaer, probably a little bit longer than that, maybe an hour and a half is when we're going to start to track some of these in there. But this is what we're watching for right here. If you guys have radar apps, you can track along tonight. The activity in north central Illinois, those storms are expected to roll in here from the northwest. You'll see the lightning. You're going to hear these coming. These aren't storms that are popping over us as they do sometimes. These are storms that are coming in from the northwest. So we're going to see them coming in. We're also going to be able to see how they're behaving off towards our northwest as well. Okay. Jessica, I hope you don't lose power either. Losing power is just the worst. I mean, it really is. It makes you appreciate when you do have power, right? But, hail doesn't typically knock power out. The winds will do that. Lightning will do that depending on where it strikes. But in terms of, power outage index, if I were to have to give that, our power outage chance isn't really high today. There's not a huge damaging wind threat from this. So hopefully most of us will be able to keep the power on with these storms. Amanda, packing the honey, just extracted 15 gallons of honey today. She's got bees, and not bees that are problematic. She's got a honeybee little farm going on, right? She says, thanks for being here. That's cute, Amanda. How many people do you say that to? I like that a lot. That's great. All right. Cameron, you're welcome. No problem. JB, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, I think that's it, you guys. So I'm going to be tracking along this evening. We'll track these in here. So if there's anything pressing, I'll send that your way. But in terms of these storms tonight, once these get out of here, they'll be out of here by morning rush hour. We may have some leftover showers for that morning commute. But tomorrow really does look great. We're going to bring back the sunshine tomorrow, and it's going to be really nice. The humidity will be coming down by the hour. And then remember, on Tuesday, we go back to the humidity. So Tuesday into Wednesday, that humidity will do a sharp left. And we're going to go back to humid on Wednesday. That's when the front passes, and that's our stronger front. Could we get some storms with that? The setup looks better tonight for severe weather than that Wednesday system. But then it turns windy and cooler later this week. And by cooler, I mean 60s for highs, like mid-60s. 'Tis the season. Happy fall on Thursday. It'll feel like it. And then I think we're going to have lows in the 40s going into the weekend. And then we may do it all over again after that, okay? So kind of crazy. Let me answer this question real quick. Brandy, you're welcome. Susan, you're welcome. Good night, other Susan. A couple Susans on here. Jessica's over the humidity. But Maxwell asks a good question. Do you think the watch will be issued for Porter and Lake counties? Maxwell, they're going to wait and see. The Storm Prediction Center, I know exactly what they're thinking. They're waiting to see how these storms behave. As of right now, they're going to wait until they're probably in the extreme eastern half of this severe thunderstorm watch box. So we won't know for probably another hour and a half, depending on if these storms are still severe. I could see them issuing one for Newton and Jasper County, maybe even Stark County. I think the likelihood for a Lake Porter or LaPorte County watch later on is lower. I really do. And that's just doing radar analysis. The way we would get some kind of watch off towards the north is if this activity were to explode up towards northern Illinois, and the dynamics aren't there as they are where this watch is. So I don't think so for Lake Porter and LaPorte County, and I hope I'm right. Newton and Jasper County, hopefully we keep you severe weather free, but I don't think that's the case. I think these storms are going to roll in at least with some hail and strong winds. And Lake County, even though you may not have a watch issued, I still think we run the risk of some severe weather with this. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time to track. We'll be keeping an eye on these. We'll keep you updated as well, okay? All right, guys, thanks for joining me here on this Sunday evening. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. It really is. And so much to cover tonight, which was great. Indiana 105.5 FM, X-Rock 103.9, and Z 107.1. We're on the radio with them. We've got your forecasts daily, Monday through Friday with them. We do a live interview in the morning. A lot of you have caught some of the broadcasts on there, so I'm just tickled by that. That's just great. So it's great to get the Region Weather brand out there and get the weather information that people need out to Northwest Indiana. So super happy with that. So catch the forecast on the radio if you can this week. All right. Okay, guys, we'll let you go for now. I'm on radar watch this evening, so I'll be right along with it with you. We'll pass along any information that you might need with these storms later on tonight, okay? Hope you enjoyed your weekend. We'll talk soon, all right? Bye.